So, ladies and gentlemen, today I have I would call her the queen of Nakshatras now because her book, The Nakshatras and the Star Beyond the Zodiac. I mean, it's like a dream book for someone because not only you talk about Moon Nakshatra, you talk about all the planets, including Lagna.
Yes.
If Lagna is in Aradra, Lagna is in Purva Falguni.
Yeah.
So very, very, very informative book. So I'm like, this whole time I brought you like 2 or 3 times and I never really concentrated just on nakshatras.
Yes.
So I wanted to, get more information from you as to how important do you think nakshatras are in a reading itself? Like when you're doing a reading,
Yeah.
would you just look at the planet in the house, or would you actually pay attention to nakshatras and how important that becomes?
So first, let me say it's such a pleasure to be with you again, Kapiel.
Absolutely.
Always a great pleasure to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, I have always been in love with nakshatras, right from the beginning when I first got to know that they were there.
Okay.
So it's been something that I've been thinking about, working on, and so as far as readings are concerned in consultation, there are two things that you look at. One is, of course, depending on how much knowledge my client has. Consultation, I always ask them first thing, do you know the subject? Because if they know the subject and they are students of Jyotish, then it's very easy to give a consultation because there's a shortcut knowledge.
Yeah.
You say something and they understand. So that is my main thing. So as far as nakshatras are concerned, I would look at them all the time. Whether I talk to my client and say your moon is in this nakshatra or your sun or lagna, usually I'll give them a little flavor. I will always talk, your lagna is Aries and it is Ashwini nakshatra, little bit, and moon is in this sign, and just simple stuff if they have no knowledge. But if they have knowledge, then I will discuss their nakshatras for every planet.
Okay.
Because the basic concept is that the nakshatra is the mind of the individual.
Right.
So look at it simple, simple astrology. We are not complicating it. You are looking at what is the background. How do you think about something? So in order to know how a planet is thinking, we got to look at it from a nakshatra point of view. So that is why in my book, I give all the nakshatras for everything. Yeah.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, one thing I found was like, wow, she's actually running to Saturn in this nakshatra and Lagna in this nakshatra. So that's why I love this book. But also one thing I wanted to know, because we so concentrate and we kind of like learn Jyotish just knowing Moon Nakshatra. How important, in your opinion, is Nakshatra of Venus, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu? Does that matter in an actual reading, or should we not pay attention as much? What's your opinion on that?
No, I think it matters. Obviously, the moon nakshatra is the most important, and actually the health of the moon in your chart is most important. But you want to see, like when you started reading, you want to look at the nakshatra kundali of everybody. That means, planet nakshatras. So what is the nakshatra influence that is there? So let's take Venus, and you have Venus in, say, Rahu nakshatra. And Rahu, where is Rahu placed? Not only, you see, there are different steps of the nakshatra. You could understand quality of Venus. It will be different in Ardhara, Swati or Shatabhishak. So that is one separate thing. That's more a psychological or a personality analysis. But the Lord of the nakshatra is very important, and where the Lord is placed. That means what is the underlying influence of this nakshatra? And not just the Lord, also the Devata of the nakshatra. There are all sorts of qualities of the nakshatra. It depends how deep you want to go. And in the same way, if you want to analyze Venus, you want to know what nakshatras it is the lord of. So not only that what lord is Venus, nakshatra lord, but is many planets in Venus nakshatra. That means that it's a subtle controller of all those planets.
So how will this story play out? Let's say Venus was in Aradhra Nakshatra in the ascendant, and then Rahu went into the 9th house.
Yeah.
What would you say if you were looking at that?
Well, I would say, of course, Venus is in what sign, and is it what
in
is
Gemini sign in Aradhra.
Yeah.
So then Lord
Gemini,
of the Ra.
yeah. So if it is in Ardhara and Mercury in the Lagna, then Mercury is the Lord, and Venus rules the 5th house as well.
Yeah.
And Venus rules the 12th house as well. But Rahu, the Lord, is placed in the 9th house. So 9th house is a house of higher knowledge, higher wisdom, foreign things, something different, thinking outside the box. So all those things, there will be an interest for Venus. Or the Lagna, the person who's Gemini, will not only be interested in Gemini kind of things and duality and the 5th house because Venus rules it, but you would not think about 9th house.
Yeah.
But because the nakshatra lord is placed in the 9th house, then all the things of the 9th house, publishing, writing, higher mind, higher thinking, with a bit of Rahu flavor, you could say, but this is the lord of Venus.
Would you also be able to say like, well, you could have a spouse from a foreign country or distant lands because it's the Karka of spouse and Lord is in the 9th house?
You could say that, yes. Rahu, Venus in Rahu Nakshatra. Normally could be distant land, but also from different caste or different
culture,
background, caste is not necessarily negative caste system, but just somebody who's different from who you are. Okay. So if you're brought up in a certain way, then your spouse may be different. Because remember, Rahu, Ketu are outsiders, so they tend to bring some outside influence.
And let's say if in the same context you have, Sun, Saturn, Mars, Moon, or let's say Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Moon in Bharani Nakshatra.
Yeah.
So now Venus becomes that controller.
The lord of that.
Yeah,
yes.
lord of that. So how will that play out in that scheme? If you were to
one of the main things is that if you have so many planets, so it's just Gemini Lagna, let's take it.
Yeah.
And they are in the 11th house. But the rulership, especially Venus's Mool Trikona, goes into Libra, which is the 5th house.
Yeah.
So it brings, firstly, Venus qualities. It also brings 5th house, good luck, good thinking, good opportunities. All those things will add to those planets. Secondly, what is Venus's role in the chart? Is it a Atma Karaka? So if your nakshatra lord is Atma Karaka, that becomes very powerful as well. Okay. So there are so many techniques you can use, but the first thing that you have to look at when you start looking at a chart via the nakshatras is to just have the grid of where the planets are. So for example, in a friend of mine's chart, all her planets were in Ketu Nakshatra. So that means that she has such a major Ketu influence in her life. But then what did she do before I met her? I met her because she was a yoga teacher. Very interested in spirituality, very interested in alternative things. Yeah. But that Ketu signature was quite complicated for her. She would have dreams of snakes. She would have inner difficulty dealing with more practical material things. Even though all her planets were, Jupiter was in Mula, 9th house, Sun was in Leo. So it's not a bad combination, but it just that everywhere Ketu's influence was so prominent. So firstly, you had to see what was Ketu bringing to her. And then, if you're trying to live a purely material life, then Ketu will bother you a lot, because that becomes a signature of your chart. So what I do is, when I'm looking at an analysis, that's almost the first thing I look at, is there any signature? Some people may not have it,
Yeah.
but is there a signature? Is there something that is talking to me? Person may have all the planets in Saturn nakshatras. It is possible. Or for example, Saturn is your Atma Karaka. Then the energy is totally different of those Saturn nakshatras. It could be your yogi planet. It could have some 8th house lord. It has a lordship. So you have to see what is that nakshatra lord bringing to the table. We are doing analysis always with Jyotish. Is a lot of mental thinking. And it is how you express to your client may be different to how you would express to the students, because you're teaching them the technique. And that even on your program, you have to sometimes give a simple explanation so that people can understand a complicated subject. So I would say that the first thing people should do is to look at what is the nakshatra rulerships in their chart. The Lord of the Lagna nakshatra is very important, because he's always going to give you some strength in life. And what is his role in your chart? Let's say you have a Lagna nakshatra is 9th lord. It's a totally different energy than if that Lagna nakshatra lord is the 8th lord. So therefore you want to see the overall influence.
I wanted to actually come to the Lagna nakshatra, but before that I wanted to ask you, since you were talking about Atma Karka, planet with the highest degree, let's say Venus is the Karka of relationship and marriage, but let's say Saturn became the Dhara Karka. Would you study the nakshatra of Saturn to also know the spouse's, flavor and characteristics, or would you only rely on the 7th lord and Venus only?
No, I would look at Dhara Karaka as well. Yes.
Dhara Karaka as well.
The thing is this, how complicated do you want to make it?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, so now it's Dhara Karaka, 7th lord, Venus, Jupiter. It keeps going on and on.
But basically, Kapil, if you look at first where the planets are, you already got a snapshot of where the planets are. Then you're looking at the Dhara Karaka, and you're saying, because Dhara Karaka is always the most immature planet in your chart. You see, so always we make mistakes with relationships.
I know, exactly.
It's the lowest degree planet, so we have to learn something about it. It just come into the sign. So, whatever the nakshatra of the Dhara Karaka is always is important if you are looking at that aspect. Yes.
Okay. Then also, like you were talking about the Lagna nakshatra, how important is Lagna nakshatra next to the moon nakshatra? Because Lagna is the ascendant.
Each nakshatra is important in its own position.
Okay.
So the Lagna nakshatra, without Lagna, you would have no moon, because if you are not born, then you don't know your moon sign. So also Lagna nakshatra has importance, because in the Lagna, the intellect rests. In the moon, the whole mind rests. But the intellectual portion, I, me, myself, if you think about the Lagna, it's always the head. So this is where the brain is, where we are saying. So therefore the Lagna nakshatra, how its mind works, what it does, where the Lagna nakshatra lord is, that is as important as the Lagna lord. So in step by step, you would obviously look at what is the Lagna, what is the Lagna lord. And 90% of the time, the Lagna nakshatra lord is not a good friend of the nakshatra. He will still be very important, because according to the rules, during the dasha of the Lagna nakshatra, your status rises. And you improve your quality of life. It doesn't matter if it's the 12th lord or the 8th lord or whatever. Those are his other jobs. But as he is controlling the Lagna, he brings you more into prominence.
Wow.
So I would always look at that. I look at the Lagna and then I look at the Lagna Nakshatra. It's almost like automatic.
Automatic. Okay. And what I wanted to know, is there like certain ages where nakshatras become more active, where the story of the nakshatra will play out, you know, in your life?
You know, some teachers will teach that, but I
Yeah.
feel that obviously the nakshatra that is most active is what dasha you're in and what you're experiencing just now. Obviously, you will have different stages what your dasha is going through and what time of life you're in. So that is the most active planet. What is your dasha lord? What is the nakshatra of the dasha lord?
Okay.
So I don't feel that some nakshatras are more active at the other one set stage or the other. But you see, there are so many advanced techniques of the nakshatras. What I like people to use nakshatras where they're comfortable with it. We have to be very advanced to look at those extra techniques.
Okay. And what I also wanted to know is the padhas. Like, what do the padha stands for? We know that they land a planet in a certain divisional charts and Varga charts and Navamsa. But what is also the significance of planet being in padha 1 versus padha 4? Is there any significance?
Yeah, well, firstly, you know, the one nakshatra has 101 sign, the zodiac has 108 padas. So the number 108 itself is the mala, you know, we have 108 beads to the mala. So when you're doing any mantra practice, anything, 108 is very important. We go 108,008, you know, there's always in this 8. So each of those padas is a development stage of an individual soul. So I look at the 108 padas and divide them by 9, we get 12 rashis. So I take the chart as 9 development stages of man. So you see 3 nakshatras equal 12 padas.
Yeah.
So there's simple. So after you finish 3 nakshatras, you are on that first stage of development, Ashwini to Kritika. If you take start and then Rohini to Ardhara, then you know that way. So you are actually completing 9 stages of consciousness. So the mind keeps on developing more and more as you develop into these stages of the nakshatras. So that is first aspect of pada.
Okay.
Because pada is connecting to the Navamsa.
Yeah.
So we have the each sign is divided into 9, and each nakshatra has 4 padas. So 4 padas are also, you see, when we take the nakshatra, if we go back to the original concept of nakshatra was that it's about 1 day, 1 lunar day. How much the moon travels in 1 lunar day. So the astronomical calculation of how much the moon travels in 1 lunar day, it covers a certain stars. No, it's not equal because when you actually study the stars, there's no division that here Ashwini changes, here Bharani changes. These are man-made divisions, but why were they made? Because they were made for astronomical purposes. And so this division of 1 day is what 1 nakshatra is. So as the moon goes around the zodiac, it travels from, say, your position back to your position. It'll take 27 and a bit days.
Yeah.
So that 27 each day, the sages realized had an importance per day. So 13 degrees 20 was taken. It was not an arbitrary figure. So if we take 1 day, we also say that in 1 day there are 4 padas of the day. So, you know, we have sunrise, midday, sunset,
Yes.
and midnight.
Yeah.
So we have the 4 padas, means that there are 4 different qualities. What we do something different at sunrise, middays, sunset. And so in this, you also see the qualities of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So usually people first padas are always connect. I mean, there are two schemes of it. Some people think Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha just go in the same order. But B.V. Raman in his book, he says that Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha in the first nakshatra go forward, second nakshatra they go backward. So this forward and backward is also very important. I'll come to that in a minute.
Right.
But the four padas, if we take how the day was divided, the first thing was dharma. If you see traditional Indian families in the morning, they will do long puja part, spiritual, all the dharma work was done first thing in the morning. Then you had to go and earn a living. So the second part was artha. So the second part of the day, and that's also when the full sun is fully up. We are doing our artha. We don't, I mean, nowadays people work at all hours, but originally when Jyotish was kind of started off, there was natural light. And then you thought about karma, family life. What is family you're going to do? Mostly around sunset. That's when you came home, you came back, you sat around, you talked, this thing. And then after that, you either went to sleep or you thought about moksha. So often, you know, in the whole aspect of Upanishad or spiritual teaching is also that you sit by the fire and you discuss philosophy. After everything is done, then you think about this. You know, the sages would talk and discuss, or you meditate.
Oh, beautiful. Wow.
And then if you slept at night, also you were not supposed to sleep like Kumkaran. That means you're just totally asleep.
Snoring.
In this state of spiritual awareness, where you are actually plugging into the high spiritual energies, almost like when you're sleeping, you're reconnecting to the divine energy. So these padas had their very special kind of spiritual meaning to them, each pada. So you see, if you think about four padas, and then each nakshatra has four padas, then if you take that, you have 27 steps to complete the whole journey, you know, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, then again and again and again you do it. So the original life, when people started, people were working on all level, you know, all levels of consciousness. Now we are more focused on whatever we want. You know, we are not thinking about what is good for the world or what is good for humanity or anything. If I want it, I should get it. So we are living in Kali Yuga. But these padas were not, you see, what I find beautiful about Jyotish is that nothing was arbitrary. They were not just made because we want four padas or because the mathematics is correct. They took the exact mathematics of nature. And even the 108 is I think, is the time, something to do with the sun's distance between sun and moon.
Or it's 108 Earths between sun and moon. I mean, sun and moon, 108 Earths.
Yeah, and there's some other aspect also that I've got it written, but I don't remember exactly. So all these things were combined together in this knowledge. So as you dig deeper, the more you know. And, you know, it takes, I think, many lifetimes to know everything.
No, I can finally say you cleared my confusion about the pathas that I always had. I mean, now, thank God I brought you on the channel. But also you were saying you were going to tell us about why it goes backwards with the next nakshatra.
So that is very simple thing, that what do we do with our daily life? We breathe in and we breathe out. So we don't just keep on breathing in. So the nakshatras breathe in, which is about experiencing life, and breathing out is about removing toxins from our energy. So these nakshatras, they go up and back. A lot of this is, you know, forward and backward is connected to that. you breathe in life and then you let go. Then you breathe in, you let go. So that is what I feel. I may be wrong, but I think that is the reason why these nakshatras go. You have that. You go Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Then Bharani starts with Dharma, then goes Artha, then Kama and Moksha. So they are nakshatras. They are two of these Purushartha placed together.
Now, which system do you tend to follow? Just the regular chronological order, or this forward-backward system?
I've always followed the forward-backward system because I got it from B.V. Raman's book, where he has put this whole thing together in Mahurata. He put all the information together. But I can follow, I can see the logic in both. There's, as I said, you always start with the straightforward. Just that you do and then your very clear indication that the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, they have very clear guidelines. It's what you do. So I would be I would follow that as well.
Okay. And especially, in nakshatra, are they, I know they're used in matchmaking. Are there have you seen nakshatras where two criminal nakshatras are coming together and not giving a good married life? Or is that a very small step of really looking at horoscope match?
You mean two negative nakshatras or two good nakshatras not giving
no, two good nakshatras that are not matching, or two bad that are not matching. I mean, how important is that?
I think that in our modern times today, the matching doesn't always work out.
Okay.
It is the reason is this, that when originally people were matched, they were very young.
Yeah.
It was an arranged marriage, and the planets were matched, and people were put together at an impressionable age. 19, 20, both husband and wife were young. They matched all sorts of things, what job you have, what family's business. You didn't marry the individual. So therefore the nakshatra matching worked in those cases, because people also looked at how, are you going to have a good marital life? They matched that with somebody else having a good marital life. If your chart said you had a bad marital life, they matched somebody. They kind of did looked at this matching, and people were very young and they could look at it. I personally think that compatibility and experience is two different things. Just because you and me are compatible, we may not be able to live together. So you may like things about people, and we have to think about desh kal, where we are living. What is the today 21st century thinking? And so I always look at, before I do the matching, I look at matching only to see what are the areas that we can work with. So the nakshatra compatibility is very detailed. So we can't just give a simple answer that these two nakshatras will match. But I find that, let's say you have a really tough marriage experience in your Rashi chart.
Mm-hmm.
So for the sake of talking, you may have Saturn and Ketu and Mars in your 7th house. Now, you could get a 36 out of 36, 100% match.
Yeah.
It's not going to work, because the experience for you is not about compatibility. That is some karma that you have to deal with. You have to work out as far as relationships are concerned. So how much you can rise above it, that is the thing. So in the olden days, what happened was that people were not only being highly spiritual, they were taking whatever the marriage threw at them. If you've seen old Meena Kumari movies, she's always saying, "This is my karma, my husband."
Yeah.
There was nobody takes it that way now. So we have to take that more today approach, I feel. So therefore, and then people were doing lot of remedies for their relationship. They would do every Friday puja for relationship. They would have annual puja, karwa chauth, all sorts of remedies full time that were resolving some issues and acceptance. Many of those things are, more tougher today. So just pure matching of moon nakshatras, I don't feel that is the way to
and
go.
especially back in the days, women were kind of like forced to be subservient to the husband. So even if it's a bad marriage, they would accept it. And then we're looking at, wow, my aunts and uncles have been married for 60 years, but it could have been, she probably, if she had a choice, she would have left my aunt or something, So
it's not just the marriage, that the longevity. What we are seeking today is the quality of marriage.
Quality, yeah.
And often in married compatibility, the moon is very important, and therefore the moon's nakshatra as well. So working with your mind and keeping the mind clear also helps in the relationship.
Okay. And also, as you know, each nakshatra is made up of a certain fixed star.
Yeah.
How do you believe, or do you actually have practiced just seeing that which star the planet is in versus the entire nakshatra? And
that is, like you have Spika for Chitra Nakshatra, or I don't remember the others on it. But
that's the only one I know too, Spisa.
Guiding planet. No, I do know them, but just offhand. But I think the thing is that the whole idea of nakshatra is a collection of stars. They do have a guiding star, and Spika was very important. Regulus is another one. But you can try to look at specific, if you have a planet very close to Spika, or you have a planet close to Regulus, maybe it will have more importance. But I've always followed the traditional system of Jyotish. So if I have that extra knowledge, it's good. But generally, what you're looking for is the nakshatra and the pada and the quality.
Okay. And have you worked with the concept of Varga nakshatra, like divisional nakshatras of Navamsa?
No, I don't use them. Actually, the thing is this, that now the software will do anything for you.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I usually avoid, even with students, I'm actually at present teaching the Vargas.
Okay.
And I avoid using the degrees in the Vargas. You can use the degrees in the Vargas.
Yeah.
But that is not the classical system. So as I told you, I follow the classical system.
Right.
And only one Varga is there where it's the pada of the nakshatra pada, which is D27, bhamsha or nakshatra amsha, which divides the zodiac into 27 portions. And there you have each of the pada has its own nakshatra devata. So same 27 devatas are there.
Okay.
So you can look at that, but generally I would not give added nakshatras to the Vargas.
Okay.
Kapil, the thing is there's so much information in Jyotish. If you look at everything, you're not going to get a clear point of view.
Exactly.
I think, you can think two things. One is kind of super advanced study and research. So you can research all these things, and it is good for the future. Maybe people get something very good out of it. But the subject is so vast in itself that I have not felt the need to go too much outside the traditional
system. So my last question is for you is how important, like especially in your book you spoke about Pushkar Navamsa positions. Have you always see them work in terms of giving the results as it says in the classics, or could there be a position where it may not give that result, or it'll be altered?
You see, Pushkara Navamsa is a nice position for your planets to be in.
Okay.
So when you have, there are specific areas in the chart where it's possible to purify yourself. you can improve the conditions, purify themselves.
Okay.
So the most important planet to have in Pushkara is Jupiter. So so if you have Jupiter in Pushkara, that is the key planet to have.
I think my wife does in her chart. I'm like, all right, good.
Yes, you as a husband. So. Take the
I was
credit.
like so happy. I'm like, all right, you got that.
Jupiter is the husband. It's also the guru, the knowledge, the wisdom. So that is the most important planet in Pushkara.
Okay.
But all the planets in Pushkara, they're just a nice position.
Okay.
But unless you do something about it. So let's say you are sitting by Ganga, but if you don't dip in Ganga, then it's no point just going around. So when people start improving their lives, they start doing something, then that Pushkara helps a lot. And what I've seen with Pushkara is that sometimes charts seem quite difficult when you look at them by all the classical interpretation. And then you see, but this person's life is pretty good. And they are managing to work their difficult charts together. Then these things are very important because there may be some Pushkara energy, there may be something else there that is activating the chart. But it doesn't happen without some personal effort that you are, trying to improve your life or work with it. There is a rule of Pushkara. If the planet that is in Pushkara goes into the Dushtanas in the Navamsa, then it spoils the Pushkara.
Okay.
But I don't see that. I see people, with a lot of Pushkara, sometimes 5 planets in Pushkara or more planets, having a good life. But if you ask them, they'll say, no, I'm not very lucky, or I don't have a good life. But actual fact, they have certain things that are working for them. So you can't say that Pushkara is be end and be all,
Yeah.
It's part of something that is an extra special position. So there are the 24 Pushkaras.
Yeah.
And if you have Jupiter and Pushkara, it would be extraordinarily lucky. But lucky is not in terms of money. It's about wisdom, knowledge, support.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny you said that. They would have a good life, but they think they don't. Because I've had people who had Pushkara Navamsa, like Venus or Sun and Lord in Pushkara Navamsa, like, you should be doing well. Like, no, my life is miserable and this and that. I'm working in this software company. I'm like, you're working in this software company, like they're working in a big software company like Google.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, can I ask you a personal question? Are you making 6 figures and all that? Say, yeah, I'm making like almost 180, but here I'm not able to do anything. It's so expensive. So you see, they have that first world problem.
Yeah.
With the Pushkara Navamsa, and I'm like, all right, that's it. At first, I'm like, oh my God, I thought this was gonna work. But then when you look deeper and research into people's lives, they're like, no, all my friends are making close to $1 million. They're saying my senior software advisor, he's making close to 800,000, and here I am at 180. Like, I'm just not happy. And I'm like, well, you got a different problem now.
That's right. So, people have a different expectation, and when they see like Raja Yoga or anything, Pushkara is an added plus point in your chart.
Okay.
And you much rather have it than not have it. So if your Lagna is in Pushkara, you have Jupiter in Pushkara, you have other planets. You have to, I always tell people that you should think what is good in your life, Don't always think it's in comparison to somebody else. So definitely, I think Pushkara helps.
Okay. So thank you so much, Komila. I know you have a busy day, and I know this book, guys, it's available on Amazon. It'll arrive even with Prime very quickly. So
and you could give my website also, komila.com.
What is it?
Komila.com.
Komila.com. So please log on there. I'm sure you're taking readings as well right now.
I do, yes. I do.
And your school, what's your school?
It's a Academy of Vedic Sciences. The next set of classes start in March.
Next March, okay.
Yeah, every year I do 8 classes a week.
Okay.
On Jyotish, so.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Kapil. Always a pleasure.
I know, and can't wait to see you in Sedona too. So
Oh, yes, we
yeah,
should do something special in Sedona.
we
And
will.
keep up the good work. I am so proud of you, really.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you so
so much.
much.
Bye bye.